Well, we are recording, my friend. We're here.
Hey,
We made it.
how you doing, Bailey?
I'm doing well, my friend. I appreciate you coming here. This is Burn the Ship. Our goal with Burn the Ship, as always, is to connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. It's really people that have walked the walk and talked the talk and done all the things that they need to do in business that can kind of speak to what it's like a little bit and hopefully share some skills that you guys can add to your bag that will positively impact whatever it is that you're trying to do on a day-to-day basis. And if you need some help, you can always reach out to us. If there's someone that you want us to reach out to specifically that you want to hear from, please let us know and we will do it. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, my friend? Introduce your business. Tell us what you do.
My name is Craig A. Meyer. I'm the owner of Meyer Entertainment Group, MeyerEntertainmentGroup.com. We are an entertainment and live show production company. It's existed in some form since I was a kid. I started off as a child actor in LA, had a crazy life as the son of a Lutheran minister. By the time I graduated from high school, I had lived in 5 states, 2 countries, and gone to 9 schools.
Wow.
And after high school, ended up going to college, started working for Disney down in Florida, and basically have seen the world on someone else's dime. Lived in Japan twice, toured Europe, toured the United States, been on Broadway, national tours, did a concert tour with Barry Manilow for 2 years. It's been a long, illustrious career and a lot of fun.
Well, I am glad to be connected with you. I got your EPK, and I kind of went through it before we started our podcast earlier. You're very, very talented, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem. And tell the people a little bit about kind of the shows that you do, what you're producing.
So I moved here 18 years ago from Los Angeles to be the artistic director of a performing arts center that had been built here called the Dozier Center for the Arts. They had pursued me for 2 years through friends of friends. We finally put together a contract and a deal. I moved here, and 2 days after I started working here, I was fired without cause because someone felt threatened. So that was pretty rough. And I spent a good 4 months in a very deep hole trying to figure out what the choices were. I got back to survival work pretty quickly after that, but I knew that that's not what I wanted to be doing. My parents were living here at the time, and my dad was like, well, you need to get a job with benefits. I'm like, Dad, Enron just happened. That doesn't exist anymore, and I was already a part of the gig economy before there was a thing called the gig economy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because as an actor, that's all it is. You are a journeyman. You go in and out. You go in, you do a thing for a while, you leave, you go in and out. And so I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I wanted to figure out what that was going to look like before I made any commitment. I decided that I wanted to start teaching voice again, and my father thought that was a bad idea. I said, well, glad that it's not your life that we're going to do. This is mine. So I started doing that while I was doing the survival work and getting back to a place of thriving. And in August of that year, auditioned for and got a role in a production down at the Alliance Theater in the Theater for Young Audiences show. And that sort of got my foot back in the door performing in Atlanta. And that quickly started to ramp up. I left behind the other work while I was still teaching in my vocal coaching studio. And while I was doing that, a woman who lives here in Kennesaw, Melody Knighton, who had at the time been in the tribute industry for 20 years, came in to work on her Dolly Parton show. Melody is an excellent marketer, great businesswoman, kind as the day is long, and just wicked smart. And she was like, there's got to be somebody that you could be doing in the tribute industry. And my inner monologue was, I don't want to go to the elephant graveyard of entertainment and become an impersonator. I have no desire to do that. I've got a resume that says that I'm a legit actor, performer. Said no for 2 years. And I did a benefit concert at a theater here in the city. Did a couple of Elton John songs at the piano. I wasn't doing Elton, just playing his songs and singing his music. And after the show, a dozen people came up to me and said, there were moments where I thought I heard it in your hands and in your voice. And I'm a really good mimic as an actor, and I had taught myself how to play the piano with the music of Elton John, Barry Manilow, and Billy Joel. So it was a natural progression for me.
Sure.
Called up Melody and said, it's time. You've cracked this code. Help me put together the look, the sound, everything. So we did. We went shopping down a little 5 Points. We did costumes. We did a photo shoot. We did a video. She sent it out to her 20 years of people in the industry and said, you don't know this guy, but you will. And that was October of 2008. In the last 15 years, the show has gone all around the world. I've got an amazing band that has been with me for almost the entire time. A little bit of turnover, but that's usually because people are moving on and up into better jobs and positions. We're a family that has great times together. Our shows regularly fluctuate between performing arts centers, outdoor sheds like the Mabel House Barnes Amphitheater, which we've played a dozen times, casinos, private events. I did end of April, I did a private event on the fantail of a super yacht in the Bahamas. And that's all I can tell you about it because I had to sign an NDA.
Yeah.
And it's been a crazy 15 years. But 15 years ago, when I said yes to this, I realized that I had finally chosen myself. Rather than waiting as an actor for a producer or director or theater company or a television show to choose me and pick me, by creating my own show and being the captain of my own ship that I eventually burned. Actually, I burned the other ship. I was actually now in charge of it. And while performers are their own company at any given time, I really became my own CEO and entrepreneur when I created that show.
Sure.
And as terrifying and scary as it was, it's been the best thing that I've ever done. And the growth that's come out of that and the ability for me to actually have financial freedom and time freedom is the greatest gift I could have ever given myself.
Yeah, absolutely. As do many entrepreneurs. The freedom comes with a cost, though. You know, I'm sure you have found yourself working much more with that freedom of time compared to what you were doing before when you were kind of waiting on the nod of someone else to move forward.
It's easier to let someone else do the hard work and then you just come in and do the performance. But the rewards of knowing that the work that I do and the frameworks that I've created and the opportunities that I create for other people to work and the meaningful work that I create for other people and the joy that my widget, my show brings to people is more satisfying and outweighs the sleepless nights and the how do I make this bridge from here to here because I want to level up my business, and that means that I've got to create a better demo reel or better marketing materials or whatever that is to level up. Hands down, I'll take it again and every day and twice on Sunday.
So what else is managing your own show kind of what Meyer's Entertainment Group does? Are you guys kind of branching out? Like what's the future for your organization?
So Meyer Entertainment Group really is primarily a production company that produces my shows that I produce. We're actually in a season right now of I'm creating some different versions of my shows.
Oh, cool.
Just actually put together a fresh set list for a show yesterday afternoon. Was down there with I'm a visual learner. I'm kinetic. And I love 4x6 cards. They're my favorite thing. And the show that I'm putting together is a compilation of the three best piano playing singer-songwriters of the 70s and 80s. And that's Elton John, Barry Manilow, and Billy Joel. So I'd put together my list. I thought about what songs I wanted to do, wrote them out all on cards. And then in my office on a large table, throwing down the cards and going, no, what does that look like? And moving things around and then realizing that there were some themes and figuring out what those themes were, putting songs together in that. So that's one of the projects. There's another project. Every good entrepreneur, in my opinion, is trying to solve a problem that they have that they figure out that other people have.
Oh, yeah.
During the pause, the great pause, I don't call it anything other than that. I was trying to solve some problems with logistics. I've got 7 to 10 people that travel with me at any given time, and trying to make sure that all the plates are spinning and all the information is where it needs to be and they know where they're supposed to be can be very difficult.
Sure.
I've been using a piece of software for the last 5 years that is okay, but it's not intuitive. So I was trying to figure out something for myself, trying to take the time and be productive when I wasn't on the road, and was soliciting information from friends online and colleagues. One friend had suggested a product called Airtable, which is a no-code kind of a product. He understood it really well. I kept asking him information to help me work with the product, and he finally said, "What are you trying to do?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to solve this problem of logistics and finances and whatnot with my show." And he said, "That's a great idea. Could I do that with you?" So Gary Arbuthnot went from being a friend and colleague to now my business partner. And we've spent the past couple of years really working through getting it routined and in place. And then we've been working with a web developer to get the MVP out of askmo.app. The site is up and running. You can take a peek at it. And basically, the first piece that we're bringing out is an offer evaluator to help musicians and performers to look at an offer and decide quickly within 3 minutes if it's viable for them to take it. Am I going to make money or not? Most performers, most gig people are great at what they do in their craft. Whether you're a haircutter or a plumber or a performer, you're probably really good at that. But nobody taught you business. Nobody taught you how to look at a job and go, okay, my top line number is this, but after I spend money on gas and truck maintenance and drum maintenance and pay my people, am I going home as the leader of the band or the head of the gig with anything in my pocket? So AskMo, this first offer evaluator, helps you very quickly decide if that's a yes or a no, and if you need to adjust what they'll get for the number that they've got, or ask them to give you more money so they can afford what they really want.
Absolutely. And so the next two questions that I'll ask you are kind of twofold here, because I want you to answer from the entertainment group perspective as well as the technology perspective.
Okay.
Both of those are very different worlds with a lot of the same issues, we'll say that. What were you really good at when you decided that I'm pushing forward with this entrepreneurship perspective on the entertainment side of things, and then again with the technology side of things?
So from the entertainment side, I would say this: I have never not performed. There was always music in our house. They claim I sang before I spoke. Taught myself how to play the piano. I started dancing at a very young age. My mother had to do something with my energy. It was either that or Ritalin, and drugs were not an option for her. And I'm not the greatest piano player. I'm not the greatest singer. I'm not the greatest dancer, but what I am and what I have learned from all the amazing people that I've worked with and developed in myself is that I'm a great showman. I really know how to bring an audience in and take them on a ride that is thrilling and intimate and makes you happy and makes you cry, so that by the end of the evening, you're like, that was a good meal. That was good. And I can tell in my shows when I have hit that mark. There are places throughout the evening where I kind of go, okay, they're with me now. And the last 20 minutes of the show, I've got a moment where I sing your song. Oh, I didn't tell anybody. I'm an Elton John tribute artist. I didn't even go there.
I guess we should have clarified that. Huh?
Didn't even go there. The name of my show is Remember When Rock Was Young, the Elton John Tribute. And I tour the world as Elton John. I'm a professional spandex wearer.
Yeah.
And
that's funny.
when I get to your song, after we've had all this fun and I've got this amazing band putting out all the sound, it's literally me, my piano, and the audience. And it's this really great, intimate moment where we're face to face. And my hope is that everyone in the audience feels like I'm singing your song just for them. And that's the payoff. That's the point of where I go, I can go to bed tonight and feel good about what I did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and my goal every time I step out on stage is to bring that to the party. From the tech side, I know for a fact that I would not have gotten there had I not been doing my show, because without the show, there would not have been the need for it.
Yeah, the feedback wouldn't have been there.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those self-perpetuating things where once you've done something, whether you're an athlete, a chef, anything that has repetitive motion or transferable skills, once you've done it once, your body knows that it can do it again. So when I was looking at this problem for myself and wanting to solve this problem for me. And Gary said, hey, that sounds interesting. All of a sudden I went, oh, other people may need this too.
Mm-hmm.
And inside me, I could go, I've done this, and this. And I've succeeded at every single one of them. So why wouldn't it make sense that I could figure this out and succeed at this too? So success is its own reward. It's also the determiner of what you can do again.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that my failures and my spectacular failures have not been key and integral into me learning how to be successful.
Sure.
Because if you're not failing, then you're not trying hard enough.
I think the skill in between those two things is asking the right questions. I've said this before on the podcast. I'm sorry if you've heard it before, but there comes, like, we call them those winning moments or those learning moments, right? And when you have a learning moment, the ability to reflect on your learning moment is so important to turn that into a winning moment in the future. And if you can ask the right questions, the learning moment is a winning moment.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
always.
So there is an incredible skill for being honest with yourself. Number one, being super, super honest with yourself, and then asking yourself and other people the right questions until you get the feedback that you need to move forward the way that you want. So that within itself is a very invaluable skill and more of a personality trait maybe. But if you could develop that, you would be doing a lot of good things for your business in general, because it is super, super important. What were some of the things that you learned from both in the entertainment side, from the business owner side, as well as the technology side?
So when I was coaching singers and actors, when they would finish a song or a scene, I'd say, okay, what was successful about that? And then I'd say, what could have been more successful? So it wasn't what was right, what was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
what was a failure or not. What could be more successful? Where are those adjustments that you can make? And when I first started the show, it was me and a piano and tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started my band. The first band that I hired in its entirety had some great people that are still with me and some really not great people who were bad fits.
Mm-hmm.
They were really talented, but they were never going to be happy. They were just those perennially not happy folk. I've learned my lesson. I am really good with hiring now. I have a strict no a-hole rule in my group. You may fool me in a conversation, but if I see it, you're out. I've made last minute decisions that people are like, you're making a big mistake. I'm like, I'm happy to make that mistake.
Yeah.
Because you are not the mistake that I want on stage with me
Yeah.
or with my team. Usually when I'm looking at someone new for the group, my question to myself is, if we get stranded at an airport in a snowstorm, are you going to make my life easier or worse?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to blame me for the snowstorm, or are we going to get together and go, all right, here's the situation. How do we make it better? Mm-hmm. And I think for anybody who's hiring, figure out what that frame is. You know, are you going to make my day better or worse? Are you going to make this team better or worse? So that was one of the things, that was a big failure for me, because I did not know how to hire well. I think that I've learned a lot in that respect. Some of the first set lists and show lists that I put together were not as successful because they didn't flow properly. Mm-hmm. I was trying to think rock and roll, and instead, when I threw that off the table and went, wait, this is a piece of theater, and looked at it through the lens that works for me, that I knew, that's when it started to work. Sure. And also all of the people that I got to work with over the course of my career and watching them craft shows and move things around. I toured with Barry Manilow for 2 years on his Showstoppers tour, and the show that we rehearsed and the show that we did a couple of versions of was very different from the show that we actually then debuted at Madison Square Gardens in New York City.
Oh, wow.
So there was a growth period where we did these tryouts and these previews, and the first show was 2 acts, and then we decided, nope, the act break doesn't work, so they took that out. The show got squeezed, they moved things around, and the show just kept getting better and better as it got polished. I think that's true for anything that you're doing. Once you get that repetitive motion in, once you start looking at the components, yeah, what doesn't work informs what will work.
Yeah, absolutely.
From the tech side, we have we have worked this out on paper and Airtable as best we can. When we took that first MVP and then got it into development, there were a lot of things that we didn't understand. And there were a lot of things that our web developer brought to the table and said, well, I see the wireframe that you've got like this, but what if we did this, that, and this? And you're like, that makes sense. For me, that illustrates I don't have to be the smartest person in the room.
Sure.
I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to have people around me that are going to pull me further than I think that I can go. I want people that can look at my first draft and go, okay, really strong, but if you do A, B, and C, it's going to maximize D, E, and F.
I think your training from a very young age lends you to take criticism very, very well. If I from an outsider looking in and not knowing a ton about those interactions, but it seems like you criticize yourself as well as other people criticize you, as in anything in the business world and in the showmanship world within itself. But it seems like you always make that very constructive. You use that as a way to kind of improve.
I have an axiom: change is inevitable, growth is optional.
Yeah.
And I really do my best to choose growth every time it's presented to me. That's what happened when I moved here 18 years ago, and this golden land of opportunity that I came to became a desolate wasteland.
Sure.
And
in 2 days.
Yes. And it was devastating. And there were some long conversations with God and lots of crying out and figuring it out and struggling and wrestling. But the growth that came out of that was what allowed me to go, okay, these are the decisions that I'm going to make for this next season in my life, and I'm going to move in that direction. Change is frightening.
Mm-hmm.
Change is really scary, and sometimes change is not always good, but change is not always bad.
Mm-hmm.
And growing is difficult. That's why the term growing pains exists.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't just a TV show in the 80s.
Yeah.
But the pain of it is what cements the truth of the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
If there's not something that goes along with it, either a high or a low, it doesn't stick. If it's just lukewarm, you're like, well, whatever. No, if it's got a pain point or an ecstasy point, that's going to imprint on you, and that's going to help you remember the next time that you find yourself at that juncture to go, do I want the pain or do I want the ecstasy?
Mm-hmm.
Which side am I going to head towards?
Yeah, absolutely. The lukewarm feeling after something like that does not give you enough feedback to push yourself in the right direction. So I completely agree with you. That is interesting. Your mindset toward growth that never stops and always getting better is very, very unique, because we talk to a lot of people on the podcast specifically and just in our everyday life about our business that they're not, throw the word change out the window. It isn't even that they don't want to change. It's that they don't want to risk. It's like I don't want to risk the step backwards. Even it's like I understand that there are steps forwards, but I'm completely complacent. Yeah, and you have rivaled your own complacency well through your own creativity and through your willingness to take that next step and risk. So that's interesting within itself, because it's a difficult thing to be. I mean, you see a little success and it gets a little bit easier every time to stop tweaking. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I had a friend of mine years ago, a pastor at my church in California, say, Craig, you are a high risk, high yield proposition.
Yeah.
and
I like the way he articulates that. That's funny. It's kind of a backhanded compliment.
It sure is. Lots of backhand.
Yeah. Emphasis on the backhand.
Yeah. But I'm not a gambler. I don't enjoy. It's just not my thing, because I hate to lose. It's really not my thing. But what I do gamble on is myself, because I know that I'm the surest bet. And if there's a way for me to improve that, if there's a way for me to do better or figure out the hack or the angle that's going to get me the response and the result I want, that's the direction that I'm going to move in.
Yeah, absolutely. I play pool right? So
Ooh,
I really enjoy pocket billiards, of
nice.
any shape and size, 8 ball, 9 ball, 10 ball, one pocket. We can play whatever, really. And I was actually just having that conversation on Tuesday. I play in a league with a good friend of mine, actually Amanda's husband. And he missed a shot that was a very, very difficult but makeable shot. And I explained to him, like, I am okay with losing that bit. Like, that bit is a bit I'm okay with losing. As long as we're doing the things that make me feel like we have a chance to get where we need to be. Those are the risks that I'm okay with them not falling our way. Like,
Right.
I am okay with the outcome, even though the outcome wasn't what we expected, because we got where we wanted. We did some good things in this string of this sequence of billiards here, and good things are happening. So there's all of those things in life. And in life, you find there is no life without risk. You know what I mean? That just doesn't exist. So if you can find a bet that you're willing to take, and a bet that you're willing to lose, honestly, a bet that you're willing to lose, based on you believing in yourself, it's a bet that you should take every time. And that's a lot of what entrepreneurship is too. You
It
know what I
is.
mean? It is very intentionally difficult. And there's more small businesses in America than there are in any other country in the world. And it is intentionally difficult because there are a small portion of people that are willing to go far enough to see their full vision come to light or fade to black. And I think that you have that just based on, kind of what you've learned from show. You're willing to see the curtains close and it not go well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for that.
When I started my show and I realized that choosing myself was such a boon to me on so many levels, I advocated with my friends to build their own shows. I'm like, figure something out, whether it's a tribute thing or whatever it is, figure out what you think would be good and build that. And I got more excuses than I got yeses. I mean, they were like, I'm not as smart as you. I'm like, you guys, I'm not smart. I'm persistent. I found the information that I needed. I took my background from all the shows that I've done and my 20 years on council at Actors Equity Association and molded that into this. And I'm offering you me. I'm willing to do this journey with you, but figure something out that you own, that you are then in charge of, that you can then steer and turn into the life that you want to live, rather than standing around waiting for someone else to call on you, or transitioning out of the entertainment industry into a job that's going to provide for you but not make you feel alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a very, very real thing. It's a thing in entrepreneurship, even outside of the show world. Like my little brother just graduated college. Right?
From where?
From Nebraska.
Okay.
And played football there. And he's got his business degree, wants to go get his master's degree and play more football. And I'm like, okay, I understand that. And I'm like, hey, when you get ready, I said, before you go find a job, I am openly extending an offer to you that if you want to start a business, that I will do it with you. That I will, you pick it, and you're going to have to do the work, because I don't know what business you're going to pick, but I can't go pressure wash houses every day. I have a business to run of my own. And if that's what you decide, I said, I'll bankroll whatever we need, and you're going to have to render the service, but I'll help you with everything else. Like the marketing side of things, I'll help you with all of the systems and processes. I'll go home at night when I get off of work and I'll manage our books. I said, I don't mind any of that. I said, we'll get to where we pay you a salary, and then we will get to where we pay me a salary, and then we'll reinvest everything else before that back into the business, right? And I think, and my little, if it wasn't literally my sibling, maybe the closest person that I am to on this entire earth, I know for a fact that an extensive amount of people would say no. Like I can just envision that. I can see people not willing to bet on themselves. You know what I mean? Because it's not a sure thing. You know what I mean? And you have a lot of times you have nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking about building your own thing, right? I did that with this. It was the first thing I ever did it with, right? I built this show. I built another podcast. I built the studio. It was all brand new to me. But it was because I knew that I wouldn't quit until we figured it out, right? And so like that within itself is such a skill, right? That willingness to lose until you win is rare. It's super, super rare. Like, I remember another piece of feedback that you kind of reminded me of earlier when you were speaking. My dad is a guitar player, right? And I am a guitar strummer, like I can play the guitar, but I am of no, nowhere close to my dad. My dad's a very, very talented guitar player, right? And he would be teaching me things on the guitar when I was young, and he would tell me, like, I would make mistakes and I would stop, right? I would make a mistake and I would stop playing and I would want to restart. And he would tell me over and over again, don't stop. Just go through the whole song. Just play the whole song and then play the whole song again and then play it again and then play it again. And then once you've gotten to a point where you feel like there's no mistakes anymore, well, there's still mistakes. You have to play it again. And I was like, okay, I understand that. But I wanted to stop when I was making a mistake, or I wanted to practice a specific passage, or I would find a riff that I really, really enjoyed, and I would learn this riff, but I wouldn't learn the rest of the song, or I wouldn't learn the chord progression. I wouldn't learn the key. I wouldn't change the tune of my guitar. Like, my dad was very anal about the small pieces that make you a really, really good guitar player, right? And that feedback earlier I took with me to sports, right? Because then I had another piece of feedback that a gentleman of mine I played basketball with, he said, don't practice until you can make it. He said, practice until you don't miss. And I was like, okay, that's hard.
That's the difference between an amateur and a professional.
Absolutely.
The amateur practices until they feel it's right, and the professional keeps working until they know it's right.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It becomes muscle memory.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what business is. That is literally what business is to me. I don't know what it is to everyone else. I've never claimed to know what it is to everyone else. That's the reason if I knew what it was to everybody else, we wouldn't be doing these interviews.
There you go.
I would be speaking directly into the mic, to the camera of everyone else's perspective. But that's what business is like you practice until it just doesn't miss. Like you build a system until it doesn't break. You know what I mean? And that within itself is a beautiful, beautiful journey. It is a beautiful journey. And you get so much about it. You learn so much about yourself that I encourage everyone to find that thing for yourself. And just figure it out. Figure it out until it works. Find something and figure it out until it works. Whether it's of huge consequence to your life or a small consequence to your life, bet on yourself at something.
Yep.
Because it pays dividends that you get paid back in ways that you would never understand, that you can't quantify or contemplate until you start seeing those rewards in other areas of your life excel. It's a very, very unique thing. So I appreciate you sharing your perspective.
Yes, sir.
Because I think it comes from a long road of learning. Is really what I think I appreciated about it the most. The last two things here. How do people find you? If they want to hire you, if they need to bend your ear about something, if they have the next best tech idea.
I love it. www.meyerenttertainmentgroup.com and Craig at meyerentgroup.com. MEYERENTGROUP.com.
Yep. And talking about burning the ship, you've heard the illusion burn the ship before, I'm assuming.
Cortez 1519.
Exactly right.
Burn the ships.
Yes, sir. That is exactly right. That is the illusion that we build a business, right? Is that when you commit, there is no turn around and go home, right? Why should people look for that experience in their life?
Well, it's thrilling. It is never a dull moment. Once there's no way to go back, you have to make it work. Once you close the door, there's only one direction. It's that moment in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf takes his staff and punctures the bridge and says, "You shall not pass." You have only one way to go. You've got to figure it out. When I'm directing a show and we're getting to tech runs and whatnot, my phrase to the team is, figure it out. Somebody may drop a line. There may be a prop missing. Figure it out. You can't stop. It is not an option to stop what you're doing. You must continue to move forward.
There is no, let me try that again.
Exactly. You have literally got to keep moving. I've had clothing rip. I've had everything happen to me on stage in my career, but you have to figure it out and keep it moving, normalize it for the audience, and then continue on. As an entrepreneur, every day is going to throw something new at you. Even if you've been doing it for a long time, you are going to have days where you'll be like, never saw that one coming.
Yeah.
But there will also be things that come at you that you go, that looks different than I've ever dealt with, but it's actually just this problem in a different form.
Yeah.
My agent called me up 2 days ago and said, I got some news that you're not going to like. I'm like, okay. She said, the presenter that we're working for in 10 days wants to cancel the show because they've done a good job promoting the show. I said, not my problem. I said, I've done everything they've asked me to do. I've got people that I've got to pay. If they want to cancel the show, that's fine. They still have to pay me out. Plus, we've got another show that's connected with the airline tickets. So their option is to not do the show, period, or pay us. And my space from chaos to calm was about that far. Because I was like, I know what needs to happen. If you need to work harder on your end, that's great. But I know that I'm going to bring you my show. A few years ago, I would have been, well, maybe we should, no, not anymore. We made an agreement. This is the agreement we made. And there are times when you have to honor those agreements with other people, with yourself. And there are times when you really have to enforce it and you have to stand there and go, this is it. My biggest peeve in life is people who are not their word. If you say something, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Don't make excuses. And here's the worst part. Sometimes it could be painful.
Yeah.
You might make a commitment to do something and then find out that it's going to cause you a lot more pain than you thought it was going to cause you because of circumstances of things that you did or things out of your control. I don't really care. Your word is your bond. You need to step up and do what you've got to do to get the work done. And that's the job of an entrepreneur every day. You've got to get up every day and get the work done and finish it off.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that, my friend.
Yes, sir.
That is a very, very excellent closing thought. I can't think of I wish I had a riveting enough question for us to continue with this energy, but this has been Burn the Ship, and I look forward to having you back, my friend.
Thank you.
And I hope that there are some things that we can do collaboratively within my organization, both with on the payment side and not on the payments, on the entertainment side.
I look forward to it. Yeah.
But I think we can do some cool stuff. So
and maybe play some pool. I'm not as good as you, but I like to play.
You'd be surprised. I miss a lot. So there are levels to the pool world. That is for sure. And I am pretty good compared to your average I guess your average person that barely ever picks up a pool stick. But there are people that make me look like I have never picked up a pool stick in my life that I play with in the pool hall in Marietta on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Like there are levels. I'm sure that you can compete, I guess is my point. I am no excellent pool player. I just take good bets. So,
All right.
All right. Until next time, this has been Burn the Ship. Thank you very much, my friend. I really did enjoy it. Thank you.
Cheers.